How's everybody doing? Good start to CES. So I hate to do this, but I'm going to start this off on a slightly personal note, okay? Since we have Saucony on stage, I'm going to put to bed an ongoing debate that I have in my house with my wife. I want to see a show of hands for either tennis shoes or sneakers, all right? How many referred to tennis shoes and sneakers? I won that one. It's going to be a good week. All right. And it's recorded too, so I could show this to my wife later. So thank you for that. So we have on stage with us Saucony, a 126-year-old brand, which is very impressive, not to be outdone by Havas, which is equally impressive, been around for a long time. But quick introduction. Mike Tuccillo, we go way back, right? It's been a while since I've seen you, but it's good to reconnect here at CES. You've been in the industry for a long time, right? You've not to do your introduction for you, but you've been on the agency side for a long time with Havas. You've been on the vendor, the ad tech side. We worked together at Quantcast a while back, and now you've been at Saucony for a while as well as Talbot. So experience on a lot of different sides of the desk. I'm looking to hear how that contributes to the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think there's a lot of people that have got to be on all three sides.
Yeah.
So definitely gives me a good outlook and perspective from the different sides and how to work with partners and how to be a good partner to our agency too.
Yeah, of course. And great, thanks for joining us today. Honestly, I know you're busy flying around the country and the world as CEO of Havas, North America, but you have a long, successful experience within the agency world. I think most notably, after being appointed CEO last year, some very quick wins for you. So congratulations on your immediate success within the role, and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure. I mean, we should make clear that we've not been running these brands for 126 years or so. That's just a little fresh jet lag from
you
Vegas.
guys look great for your age. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's great. It's a great brand, and it's always nice, like you say, like the history. The three of us doing this, but like the history of Mike's relationship inside Havas and how insular sometimes the marketing world can be. It's great because you build these relationships over time, and there's a really strong relationship between Havas and Saucony now. So yeah, it's good.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing and exploring that a little bit more in terms of the working relationship that you guys have. But Saucony's been around for 126 years, which is really impressive. They've been one of the leading producers of a performance shoe for a long time, right? And they're still represented very well, and all the endurance athletes. One of the top brands across the marathon finish lines this past year, really good representation, as well as now the expansion into really great lifestyle, embracing culture. So I want to talk a little bit more about that in terms of what that expansion looks like. But really quick, keeping it broad real quick here, Mike, as a marketer, what do you think has led to the success of Saucony consistently over the past 126 years that they've been in business?
Yeah, definitely. I think authenticity has been a key. Our products have always been great. People know us for performance run. If you've ever worn Saucony, you'll love them. You'll never take them off. So just that brand attraction, brand affinity, quality products over the years, and it's proven. You continue to see, at the finish lines at major marathons, but they're also like, I'm not a huge runner, but I love running in Sauconys. They're very comfortable. The technology and innovation, our product teams and engineers are, world class. A lot of athletes and a lot of testing. So I think the product is really what has kept us in the marketplace and relevant.
Yeah, for sure. And I see a lot of. I'm a runner myself, so when somebody finds a brand, they're pretty loyal to it. So if you put out a good product, that's why it sticks with you. So it must be pretty good to keep the consistency up. Yeah. So, Greg, I have a question for you in terms of your work with Saucony. We're going to talk about the expansion of the brand. Havas, you represent a lot of great brands, right? A lot of experience, a lot of wisdom on the team. How does that translate to this brand while trying to impart some wisdom, but also staying true to what this brand represents? And being respectful to the legacy that is there, but also contributing to the growth and the expansion that we're going to see in the market.
So, well, it's partly what you touched on, which is partnership, which is like recognizing what does this team inside Saucony, what do they already have as a business? What do they already know? Because they're always going to know more about their own product and their own customer than the agency does. So you've got to respect that, but also bring a respectful external perspective about kind of what are they missing? What are the gaps in the team necessarily internally, or the gaps in the marketplace? What are we observing from other brands in the market that we can bring learnings for? I think when you look at, the 126-year history, this is the epitome of what we've always talked about at Havas as meaningful brands. This is something that, if you are a runner, you need a product that will perform for you. And so that's where, for all the technology and advancements of tech that come into the product, and which Saucony has, actually the legacy of understanding the community and the fan of that product and what works well is really critical. So you're always finding that balance of kind of the historical and the new and trying to leverage that. And I think that comes from a lot of like where the relationship is then. How fast can you go in change, and how do you keep that legacy intact?
Right. Let's expand on that a little bit and unpack what you're talking about when it comes to growth. There's a lot of growth opportunity here for this brand, right? You have a lot of great endurance athletes, a lot of loyal customers, right? But I mean, everyone has sneakers. I mean, I'm not a good example of this, but neither are you. But everyone has sneakers on these days. It's becoming much more of a common accepted shoe, right? As opposed to like your dress shoe for occasions or whatever. And that gives a whole new world of opportunity. And we're talking about a demographic expansion. We're talking about into females. We're talking about how we're going to do that. So let's talk a little bit about what does that growth look like, and then the mechanisms how we're going to kind of reach that and tap into that.
Yeah, definitely. I think for the footwear industry, coming out of the pandemic, there was a lot of inventory. So the last couple of years, there's been a lot of right sizing and, just getting through that. So we leaned heavily into performance marketing to reach our goals, sell the product. And now we're in growth mode. And, last year we saw a lot of success with our different products. We updated a lot of our models with new technology and new foam that, performed really well. And a lot of the experts in the industry and just everyday runners and avid consumers of ours, they liked it and they went out. We ran full price strategy all last year, very limited promotions. And then we have a great wholesale network too that we work with. So that helped us rebuild our foundation, get Saucony back on track, really lean into, what are their consumer needs and how do our products relate to that. And we work with a Havas team to identify those audiences that we need to target and where do we need to take the brand to move forward. So that set us up for 2025 where, our lifestyle shoes are growing. We're known for running shoes, but our lifestyle shoes like I have on, these are Nordstrom collabs, but these are our Triumphs, one of our best models that people run marathons in. And you could technically run a marathon in these, but we are trying to move away from just performance run and open our product up to more people with different colorways, different designs. And then, it's working with Havas to really understand what the media landscape looks like for those audiences. And then how do we go after them? How do we tell those amazing stories about our products? And, just leverage different tactics to reach those goals.
Yeah, I think, the question of where does growth come from, right? There's a long period of growth over that 126 years. I think one of the things that's changed, Mike touched on the balance of performance and brand investment is clearly something that's been top of mind in the last year or two for this brand, and finding the right balance of the different tactics in brand and how you build that brand and open it up to new audiences, as well as how you keep that fluidity of performance marketing to capture that demand as much as possible, is a lot of what the agency does in partnership with the in-house team. What's interesting about that, which I think you're kind of getting at, is also like, where do the insights come from about where consumers go to next?
Right.
Because historically they might have come from, qualitatively sitting down with runners and understanding influencers and people that are, high performance in that space. That's still part of what we have to do, and that still helps to drive insight. But the second piece is, how are we responding to the insight that comes from that performance marketing. So what are we seeing? What in terms of search trends are we seeing around this product that helps us understand the lifestyle more, helps us unlock bigger segments, not just to target through media and push more ads at them, but that can help come back into the business and inform what kind of partnerships, what kind of locations we should be at, what does that look like for the wholesaler, and who we should speak to about distribution, and ultimately what does the product look like, right? Because the ideal brief we're getting from clients like Saucony is, or the ideal partnership is when they're able to say, look, help us inform our product cycle as much as just what we're selling in performance. And that's a longer term, deeper relationship that helps to drive that growth.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that additional context from your side of the equation, the value that you bring. So I want to talk a little bit about your female customers, right? Because there's a lot of growth there. Yep. As a father of 2 daughters who are also athletes, they've had a lot to look up to. The Caitlin Clark and Simone Biles this year, but you have a great opportunity to expand that growth. I know Saucony has a lot of female engineers and product developers as well. Would love to understand how that all comes together, especially from a product, and how your voice may, if it does, shift at all for that market to make sure that you're really embracing the opportunity there for growth.
Yeah, definitely. That is a growth segment for us, and it's something we've always invested in. I think you'll see in the industry there a lot of common trends are just for female footwear is to change the color, change the look a little bit, but they're not specifically designed for females' feet and trends and needs in running. So we have a lot of women engineers and product designers. Our new CMO Joy is a big advocate too for opening that up and expanding like the collabs that we have, and just our position in the marketplace, and then it's how do we have those conversations, and how can we tailor, whether it's a store specifically for women, or with our wholesalers, like do we have a special section? So there's a lot of different opportunities on the table that we're looking at, and from a media perspective, for me, it's like who do we want to target, and how do we want to talk to women and tell our stories and get them to try our shoes and move forward with the brand.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, the Joy call out's important, right? Having a female CMO on the most successful brand in the portfolio is important, and says a lot about the fact that the brand's doing so well, and the brand's doing so well with women in particular. We're doing a lot of, our kind of thematic, I suppose, for CES this year is around the notion of super, right? Superconductors from the technology, super consumers, super trends, and super women. We just launched a big piece of research today on kind of super women and how important women are, particularly around health and wellness consumption. And I think you're seeing that trend play out for Saucony, right? So women are now really playing a role as kind of chief medical officer for the household, is one of the things that we saw in that research. And they're behind so many of the decisions around wellness and health within the family for men as well as women. And I think that, the Saucony brand has been able to be part of that in a very authentic way, to use Mike's word, that was true to what the brand was already doing, and provides the quality that a female consumer who cares about herself and her wellness and the family as well, is doing the research to find out, is this product the right technology for me, for my feet, for my family, and is unlocking that as a powerful piece of that kind of consumption. So I think there's huge growth, and we'll see more of that this year in the kind of female side of the brand as well.
Right, and you spoke a little bit about the voice that you use to do that, and we spoke a little bit about the collaborators that you're partnering with, right? You had Jay Tip last year, which I think you released a few shoes with him, right, over the past 18 months or so. And there's more to do there, I would think, and I'm assuming there has to be the right fit. A lot goes into selecting a collaboration partner, and I'm assuming that's one of the vehicles that you would use to accomplish some of this. So I'd love to maybe unpack that part of the conversation a little bit and understand what specific devices and mechanics are you using, including collaborators, to reach this new audience.
Yeah, definitely. The collaboration team is very precise, and they know who they want to work with. And again, it's about authenticity. They want to stay authentic to the brand. We have part of it too is our expanding our consumer segments and, finding these new consumers that we want to bring into the brand. So, run clubs are big right now. So how do you authentically engage with run clubs and be part of that community and be part of that partnership without, coming in there and be like, hey, we're Saucony, wear our shoes, do this, do that. They don't want that. They'll push that out. So recently we minted Run Club in New York, which is a large, pretty well-known run club. We've done 2 collaborations with them. One was for the New York Marathon, in our Endorphin series, which is our super shoe for marathons. And that's very on trend for them. And then we did another one with our lifestyle shoes, our Omni 9, which is technically a retro tech. It's a shoe from 2000 that we've brought back and is popular now, but in a lifestyle sense. But in 2000, people used to run marathons in those, so the technology's there. But so that, we're trying to bridge that gap of not just performance runners, but having lifestyle and performance and people who like to wear both those types of sneakers, embrace the brand, look at the collabs, look at, our retro tech shoes and our classic shoes on the lifestyle side that we're trying, that we're bringing back. And, that helps us grow our relationship with our consumers. And that's where we want to move to, right, is get people more involved with the brand, the community, the culture. If you're in these run clubs, representing where you're from and, what you stand for.
Yeah, that's interesting. The Run Club thing is big in New York. I've been part of a couple of them. Looking to get back into it because I will be trying to do the marathon again next year. It's been a couple of years, so my wife just did it. So in a pair of Sauconys, no less. So yeah, shout out to those. She did a very good job with those. But looking to get back into it. Greg, I'm interested to hear you expand on Mike's words.
Well, I started my career working with influencers about 25, 26 years ago, and at the time, this authenticity was still what we were trying to deal with, because at the time we were launching new Pokemon games in Europe, and we were going into chat rooms at the time to talk to gamers and Pokemon fans, and we'd go in and say, hey, have you heard about this new game? And the fans would respond like, get out, you marketing idiot, this is my community. And when you went into that community and said, hey, marketing idiot here, I just wanted to let you know there's a new Pokemon game, it was like, okay, great, thanks for the info. So you were being transparent as a manager of influencer relationships, and people were you were being honest about what you're trying to do. And I think that's the same now, 25, 26 years later, what Mike's describing in this community. How can you be honest with them? One of the things that's changed is how integrate, from my point of view, running the media agency and a lot of these media relationships, is how do we take these authentic relationships, which are built specifically by the brand teams directly with those influencers and those runners specifically, and how do those come to life in media in new and smart ways? Sometimes it might be that, yes, there are influencers in social platforms that themselves have a following and we want to use their voice. But sometimes it's about how do you integrate those stories and help tell those authentic stories with media partners, and how do you work in a way that's highly collaborative between the teams inside the brand, the team in the agency, the influencer or the celebrity or the ambassador themselves, and then with media partners, right? Because ultimately, again, coming back to where does the growth come from? It doesn't really come just from this influencer showing up on Snap or TikTok saying, I wore this shoe. It comes from how that whole customer journey, understands the authenticity of the relationship and where and how that shows up.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Want to talk a little bit, I'm going to shift a little bit. I think AI, I've been seeing AI everywhere, obviously. I think we all have. And maybe this is something that you could kind of start us off with, Greg, in terms of within the walls of Havas and how you're really embracing it to help a brand like Saucony continue to evolve, but not just limited there. All your other brands that you're working with, across a number of verticals and categories. How is that leading the way for you? Not to make an assumption, but how are you using that to embrace authenticity, but also really rapid evolution for the work that your team is doing?
Yeah, I mean, we committed as an agency group, another $400 million into technology investment, a lot of which is AI over the next couple of years. And that's part of our growth strategy because of what we need to be able to provide to brands and clients. I think there are some, day-to-day ways in which AI shows up, which you'd expect in terms of data mining and the scaling of data and research. I think there's some ways that make agency businesses as a partner much more efficient and effective. If you think about the business of media planning in and of itself, a lot of media planning hasn't changed for 30 years. There are still people wandering around with a spreadsheet that says this is what my reach frequency looks like. And often clients like Saucony want us to look at 10 different iterations of what could we do, because there are so many infinite possibilities now for a media plan. So we're increasingly using AI to actually do a lot of the core part of that job around media planning, to be able to reiterate different versions of what we could do and use that to model out where could the brand go next, particularly when at a local level in the US market. For Saucony, a lot of the growth is very regional and locally focused. So that really helps us drill down and create multiple iterations of what plans can be at a local market level to look for the strongest growth and understand where the biggest opportunity is.
Right. And Mike, I'm curious, as a brand, is that something that you're applying as well for design elements and helping evolve the brand internally as well in the discussions?
Yeah, definitely. I think throughout Wolverine worldwide, our parent company, you see AI, product testing, foam testing, even the rubber on the bottom of the shoe, advancing that through artificial intelligence and machine learning. But even on my side, it's, the creative team, performance ads, you have to change ads quickly or develop new iterations of ads, leaning into that, or better understanding how do we develop that, writing copy for the website. Right. So yeah, we have tools and guidelines, and Wolverine has training classes for different departments, and we keep everything in house so that our information doesn't get out on the internet. I was going to say interweb, but so yeah, there's a lot going on internally with AI and all parts of the business.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, I appreciate you guys being here today. This is really great. I'm just curious, anything, parting words in terms of what you're looking forward to at CES, anything you're attending that you're exciting or content you're looking to take in?
Yeah, just innovation. I think, it's like Saucony is very innovative. Technology is a big part of that. Our designers use 3D printers. And so I think just understanding all the different technology that's coming down. And then also just meeting with partners and seeing what's new with them and how they're integrated, how media is integrated in this new technology. And yeah, I'm excited.
Great. How about you, Greg?
I think, I think that technology for technology's sake is something that's thankfully kind of in the past. So what's good about when we come here and we bring lots of different clients from different categories, which are kind of not technology endemic, which Saucony is probably one of them. Actually, technology is inherently in action around wellness and health. And that's what's interesting to me. And that's what, when we build programming here through the week for different client groups, we're trying to customize it so that we're not just looking at lots more screens, we're looking at what are the ways in which this technology applies into the health and wellness space, into whatever it happens to be. And so I think that is what I'm looking forward to this week. And I think it's a key part of what we try and do with the brand and with the agency.
Well, congratulations on both of your success with this brand. Looking forward to watching it grow. Thank you both for being here. Really, it was nice to spend time with you both. And thanks, Brendan and Innovators, for putting this together.
We have some time for questions. If anybody has any questions in the crowd, well, we have these gentlemen up on stage. We have a couple minutes. Anybody have a question? Question right over here. Please wait for the microphone.
I'm curious how you think about global, so Latino runners, obviously Europe, and your global brand. How do you think about marketing to people that don't speak English?
That's why we work with Havas, their global agency. So we have, different teams in all the regions, APAC, EMEA, and LATAM. So yeah, it's different, right? And it's every region's very different. Like even in EMEA, what products sell there versus what sell in the US, running versus lifestyle is very different. And then, specifically within EMEA, like France is very different than England. And so all the other nuances there. So I think it's a lot of communication, working with those global teams, making sure they're aligned. With media, a lot of times, we talk to the global teams and like, this isn't going to resonate with us. So then it's going back to the drawing board, getting their input, redesigning the work, obviously leaning on Havas. They have local teams in all those regions as well. But yeah, it's a lot of work. And it's however we can support those regions too, because they don't always have the biggest budgets or the resources. So I think wherever we can lean in, we try to. And then obviously we need their input and their insights so that we understand what their challenges are and how we can integrate with them.
I think my job before running the North American business at Havas was running our biggest global brand. So I was overseeing like where we have clients that are in multiple markets. So there's always a healthy tension in what does the headquarters in the US feel and what's appropriate for the market. So that's a negotiation, as Mike said, about like how do you take the local nuance and how do you have enough authenticity for what the brand should stand for universally. But I think one of the most interesting things is around Hispanic populations in the US, because we're investing a lot in diversity marketing as a whole, which is increasingly not diversity marketing. It is the population of the US, right? So that's changed how we approach that for every brand. But there's still really interesting nuances. And one of the ones that stands out to me is that when you look at one of the questions that comes up from clients a lot of the time about whether they should use in language or in English communications, one of the interesting parts is that the first touch point, like the general ad that I might click through, tends to work better when it's in language. Once you click through to a landing page, most audiences prefer that to be in English if there's scientific or technological detail there, because there's something about the perception of the credibility of the information, because it's global information, it's right for everybody, and it's not just made just for me in my language, which I think is interesting, because I think it's sort of counterintuitive. I think as a marketer, you'd think I must make this all in language for this community. Actually, the response rates we've seen in many categories doesn't work that way, which I think is interesting. For these brands, when you're talking about the technicality of the product, I think that's an interesting insight.
Thank you guys very much. Fantastic panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Big round of applause, please.